everyone. Welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Patreon, a variety of places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight I'm going to be sharing about one of my first grade lessons where I teach an old school, maybe something I would have learned in elementary school myself, song, but not really a folk song. It's called Stepping Out on the Town. And I'm going to talk about how I teach that, the process I do that, and why. And I'll get to that in just a second. If you are interested in any of the resources or things that I talk about in these videos on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, if you click on the video tab and then find this year's Musical Mondays recap page, you can find all the links and all the stuff that I talk about, or you could just click the link at wherever you're watching or listening to this, and it should take you straight there. A couple quick things. If you want to see me in person, you can come to one of my workshops where I'm actually live and in person, not through a screen or through your phone or whatever. And I'm going to be in Illinois this Friday, Saturday for the Illinois Music Educators Association. That's in Peoria, Illinois. So if you're an Illinois music teacher, I hope you'll come and join us. In a few short weeks, I'll be in Texas at San Antonio at the Texas Music Educators Association conference. Super excited for that. Last weekend, I was supposed to be in Rochester, New York, but the huge snowstorm came through and took out half the country, and travel was restricted and problems and whatever. So I wasn't able to go to Rochester, but we are working to reschedule that very soon, hopefully a little bit later this spring. So if you are in Rochester, New York, or around there and you want to come join us, we will have that date out very soon. Okay, so let me talk about this song, Stepping Out on the Town, how I teach it, why I teach it. And let me give you a little bit of context. So this is something that I usually teach about the first or second week back from winter break. It's something that I have taught for many, many years. I learned when I was student teaching, and it's one that I just kind of love and I think is fun to do. But it also is really helpful because all throughout first grade, I am in so many different lessons trying to reinforce the vocabulary of locomotor versus non-locomotor movement, because I use that a lot in 2nd grade through 5th grade. 1st grade, I introduce it, and so I'm trying to introduce it, talk about it, talk about it more. I'm just trying to always be referencing that, and this is a great song for that. Also in 1st grade, one of our standards is to talk about form of songs, and so this is one that has a very clear A and a B section. And so this is very easy to reinforce that A-B form, but also on the A section, you can move non-locomotor. On the B section, you can move locomotor. We're moving the whole time, but you only can move non-locomotor for part and locomotor from part. So it really does a really great job of reinforcing locomotor and non-locomotor and A-B form because of just the structure and the way the song works. So, in case you're not familiar with the song, let me just sing through the first one, the first verse, and then you'll have it in your head, and then I could talk about how I teach it in the structure. So the song goes like this: stepping out on the town, stepping out on the town, but you must be home by 8. Stepping out on the town, stepping out on the town, have a good time, but be home by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, And then there's a part that goes, it's 8 o'clock, hope you made it back home. And then you change the words, and then you got to do it again. And you can do skipping out on the town, but you must be home by 9. And then with each successive verse, you get to change the actions. Okay, that's just a preview of the song. How do I teach this one? I typically don't teach it with my ukulele. I did just use my ukulele here because I do use that sometimes, but I'll tell you why and when in a second. So with kids, I usually start out by saying, I got this song for you. It's so exciting. And it's a song about moving. And well, we know different words for moving. Don't we know words that describe different ways to move? When we talk about locomotor, non-locomotor, I hope they remember that. It's in their vocabulary box so we can find it again. And because we just had winter break, it's great to like, hey, where's the vocabulary box? Where's the special stuff for your class? You can find all of that. So we talk a second about locomotor or non-locomotor movement. And I say, this song has both. It's very exciting. Well, the first part, just listen, you need to learn the words to the song. And so I say, this is about a kid who, when they were getting older, they said, Mom, can I go over to my friend's house? And they said, yes, you are old enough. I trust you to walk over. Your friend's house just down the street. I trust you to go down there. But you must be home by 8. You must be home by 8. And the kid's like, sure. And then the mom's like, you don't have a watch. How are you going to know? And he's like, well, I'll ask the grown-up over there. Okay, but how else could you know? Well, I could look at a clock. Yes, how else could you know? And the really nice thing about this town where this kid grew up is that there's a huge clock tower in the middle of town. And the huge clock tower, well, it has this clock on the top. It has the old-timey clock, that has the hands and the dials and stuff. And okay, and I love that I get to like break out my Judy clock for this. If you know the Judy clock, I lucked into this. This was going to get thrown away, and I rescued it from the trash. It is sturdy. This thing has probably been going for like, I don't know, 75 years basically at this point. But anyway, this Judy clock, it is vintage. So anyway, at the top of this tower, there's a clock. And maybe you don't know how to read these clocks exactly, but what you need to know is that when this longer hand is on the 12, that means it's exactly on the hour. And this shorter hand, when it points to a number, it's telling you that that's what time it is. So look, this means it's 8 o'clock. And the other nice thing to know about this, so if kids, they learned how to read the clock, and if they're in the middle of town, they can just look up, and the top of the tower has this clock, so it's easy to see because it's so high up. But the other thing that's nice about this clock tower is it has a bell, and every hour the bell chimes. And how long does it chime? Well, at 1 o'clock, it sounds like this. At 3 o'clock, it sounds like this. At 5 o'clock, it sounds, and I go through a couple different times, and so they get the idea that there's like one bell for each hour. Now, usually, this is when I pull out my big contrabass bar with my huge, ginormous mallet, and I, hit the contrabass bar, that ginormous bar that is on its own box. And so kids hear that, and they go, oh, that's kind of like a bell. I use an ukulele. Sometimes, I'll talk about why in just a second, but I could strum one for each hour too, but I also use the big bass bar. That's generally what I use. This is a song that most often I sit at the piano and I play from the piano. Not because like you have to do it that way. You don't. You can do it however you want. But I use the ukulele so often as a teaching tool that I want to be able to use the piano. I want kids to hear it and expect it and get used to it. It's also really helpful for teaching the melody because you can double the melody while you're playing. I also just grew up playing piano, so I'm very comfortable with that. So for me, that's easy to do. Even on the B section where I'm, doing a little boom chuck or something with left hand and hitting a big bar with my other hand, I'm able to do both. It's actually pretty fun for me. So I like sitting down. But the other nice thing about it is when you're at the piano, you are not out with kids. And so it's kind of nice to like step aside and let them take over a little bit and give them a little freedom as opposed to being in amongst them. And so it's nice to like sit over on the side and you can kind of watch and do whatever. And, you're still in control of the classroom, but it's nice to be over on the side and then like let the kids sort of do their thing. Now, in the cases where kids can't handle that, or they really do need more reinforcement, that is when I absolutely will do it with my ukulele, and I'll be anywhere in the classroom and I can do the ukulele and still lead the class. And that's just fine. And with this song, it's really easy to do it with just like 2 chords. So it's not hard to play on the piano or the ukulele. But if I'm playing ukulele and walking around, who's playing the big bass bar? Well, sometimes I'll give the mallet to a paraprofessional, sometimes I'll give it to a student, sometimes, whatever. And then that person can ring the bell on the hour, or I'll just use my ukulele. If it is a student, usually on the B section, I'll be like 1, 2, and try and make it really obvious so that they're right on with me, but that's if we need to. Anyway, usually I'm at the piano for this, and so when I teach it, I'll teach the A section first. And I'll say, stepping out on the town, and I'll play through, and we'll do phrase by phrase till I feel like they've kind of got it. Stepping out on the town, stepping out on the town, but you must be home by 8. And we talk through, curfew and 8 and whatever. And so I make sure that they know that part, and I say, okay, but now, once you've got that going, we need to add an action for the A part. You can't leave home yet. You're getting excited. Your parents are telling you must be home by 8. They're giving you the instructions. So you need to stand there and listen to them. But even though you're standing and listening, you're kind of excited, right? So you might start kind of doing the actions, but you can't leave. Your parents are still talking. How could we do the actions and not leave, not move away? And they're like non-locomotor. Yes. Okay, so we can just walk, pretend like we're walking, stepping out on the town, stepping. And then when we get to the B section, when the bell starts ringing, then you get to wander away. Okay, how are we going to do it? So like I teach that A section, and I say, you need to find a place on the edge of the room that will be your home. Because you need to be home by 8. So this needs to be a spot that you can find easily and come back to. So let me give you some examples. And I walk around the room and I say, I'm standing right next to the last drum in the row. I know I'm going to be able to find that, no problem. Or I walk over and I say, I'm right next to the gong or whatever. I'm going to be able to find that every time. I'm not going to touch the gong, but I'm going to find it every time. It's going to be easy to find. Or I'll go stand in the middle of the room and I'll go, this is not on the edge of the room. It's not easy to find. There are no landmarks. This is a bad home, right? And so we talk about good and bad places where you could be. And then I let them find those spots on the edge of the room. And then I put up on the board a big A and a big B. And I say, remember, A is non-locomotor. You're not traveling. You're moving. You're excited. You're listening to your parents, but you're not leaving. And then B is locomotor, where you get to travel and you get to move however we say. And then we put it together, and we do it where they're non-locomotor for the first time. Stepping out on the town, stepping out on the town, but you must be home by 8. Stepping out on the town, stepping out on the town. Have a good time, but be home by 8. 1, 2, 3, and then I go through, we do, and so then on the B section, they do get to walk, but they must be home by 8. If they're not home, they get like locked out and they have to sit out around. It's no fun. And so usually for the first time through, I give them a little grace. I say, okay, well, you didn't quite make it home, but next time, you got to be home by the last bell. So you got to listen. And usually I'm there counting, 1, 2, 3, I'm, vamping. I say, okay, but when you get older, you say, Mom, can I go over to my friend's house? And they say, sure, but my Judy clock. But you must be home by 9, because when you get older, you have a later curfew. And when you get older, maybe you decide you don't want to walk to your friends. You want to do, what are you going to do? And the kids will say, I don't know, what's another locomotor action? We could do skipping, we could do tiptoe, we could do hot. I let kids choose. For hours 9, 10, 11, I let kids choose. So usually kids will choose. And then this is nice too, because it brings back some of the vocabulary that we're used to. It has them think about how they can move in the classroom. It has them practice moving in the classroom with other people in a semi-chaotic environment, and yet they still are able to do it with a little bit of freedom. And then also it gives them a chance to practice moving and not running into other people, hopefully. Also, this is fun because kids are always like, running, can we run out of the town? I go, oh, remember that's hidden rule number 1. And I open up one of my closet doors and there's like kids running, there's like an X through it. I'm like, that's one of our hidden rules. The other hidden rule for the music room is no splits. And so I have another door where I can open that up. Why? It's mostly just a safety thing. We don't have space to run in the classroom, and so we can't do that. And then also, I get so stressed out when kids do the splits. because there's some girls who are like, Miss Rao, watch, and they like do like a death drop into the splits. And I'm like, oh no. And they're like, it's fine. I do this all the time. I'm like, okay, but I'm always just waiting for that one kid to like drop into the splits and then be like, oh no. And like, so anyway, so I'm just like, I'm not going to mess with it. So it's one of my other hidden rules. Plus also, if we do like movement or statues or things where it's like you have to do a thing and other kids have to mimic you, the splits are kind of problematic because not everyone can do them. So if you have one kid doing like a statue in the splits and the other kid comes up to try to do it and then hurts themselves. So anyway, in kindergarten, kids learn my 2 hidden rules are no running and no splits. Anyway, so, but while we're thinking and brainstorming what are movements we can do for each new verse, one of the things that get reinforced is no running. They can jog, but no running. Okay, so we do this same thing for 9 o'clock. We do the same thing for 10 o'clock. We do the same thing for 11 o'clock. And for each hour, then you get another hit on the big bass bar. You know, when you're counting out in the B section, you get a hit another time. And kids get to start, they have to really start listening. When we get to like 10 and 11, I'll say like 1, 2, boom, boom. And I just let the bass bar go and I don't really count it out. I'll stop counting. And then some kids are like, he stopped counting. I got to remember to count. Because then it'll be like, you're responsible for, if you're old enough to be home by 11, you're responsible enough to know how to count to 11. So I'm going to let you do the counting. I'm just going to hit the bass bar and play the piano, right? So like they're in charge of that. When we get to midnight, I say, you know, 12 is a special hour. If it's in the middle of the day, we call it noon. If it's in the middle of the night, we call it midnight. And so this one is after school. So it would be what? It'd be midnight. Okay, so we're going to sing stepping out on the town, stepping out on the town, but you must be home by 12. We are going to sing 12, even because it'd be must be home by midnight. You could say that. But we're going to say 12 because we've done the numbers this whole time. So, but you know, when you're old enough that your curfew is 12, then it's very special. The movement you get to do for 12 is drive. Now, I do have some rules about this. My rules are no crashing because I don't want to have to deal with car insurance. Okay, no crashing. All right, so also no speeding because I don't want anybody to get pulled over, get a speeding ticket. Okay, and then my third rule is you must wear your seatbelt. Okay, so kids are like, again, but it's like reinforcing like what are the things that are going to keep us safe. No crashing because you don't want to run into other people. No speeding because that means you're going too fast. And then seatbelt is just like for fun. Okay, because we're driving, right? So then we sing the whole thing and it's just the same as everything else, except there's a special tag on the end if you want it. So you said driving out on the town, driving out on the town, but you do that whole thing and then you do 1, 2, 3, and then, but at the very end, it's 12 o'clock, hope you made it back home, because it's midnight, and everyone should be back home. And that's the end of the song. It's super cute and easy to do. And like I said, it's nice because you get to reinforce locomotor and non-locomotor. You get to reinforce A, B. You get to reinforce kids coming up with movements. They feel some fun freedom. It gets some movement out. It does a lot of really great things. And for me, it gives me another chance to sit down and play the piano so kids can get experience with me doing that and not being in amongst them playing ukulele. I can do it with ukulele, but I try not to, just so kids get some contrast, because I do so much where I accompany on the ukulele. So I want them to also experience the piano. And I also in first grade do a thing where I accompany on dulcimer. And obviously we do a lot of things unaccompanied or whatever, but it's nice to have some variety. So this is one where I sit down and play it from the piano, but that's not required. You can do whatever you want. On the, excuse me, on the links page, I just want to mention that I found a website that has lyrics for the song. So if you want to go back and recreate it, I haven't found a written version where it's like written out with sheet music, but I'll look for that. Also, I found a hilarious recording because this is like, I can't remember who exactly this came from, but it's like an old song. And someone had an explanation video like Barney or like Silly Songs or We Sing or whatever, like they used to make videos and stuff. Well, someone found an original video, but it was on VHS. So they just like took their phone and recorded the TV screen. It is amazing and hilarious. You should go watch it. But thank you, whoever documented this for posterity. But you should go and watch the recording because it is just a delight. And the hairstyles in this original recording from, like, I don't know, the early 90s is amazing. You should go watch it. But it's a super fun song. Check it out. Try it out if you want. And let me know how it goes for you. Okay, I will be back again next Monday night for another Musical Mondays video. I hope I'll see you all there. And I hope I'll also get to see many of you in person this coming week, this Friday, Saturday in Peoria for the Illinois Music Educators Association, and then in a couple weeks in San Antonio, and then hopefully a couple weeks after that in Rochester for our makeup workshop because I wasn't able to be there. Ooh, also, the Alberta Orff chapter is happening this spring. It's coming up later in the spring. So if you want and you live in near Edmonton in Alberta, I hope I'll get to see you there. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Stay warm. I'll see y'all next Monday for another Musical Mondays video. Good night, everyone.